Yeah, I'll react to that, sure.
Shall we? Okay, UK gun law is explained. Preemptive like, sure. Hello, my name is Connor. I like to learn things. I am from Rhode Island, New England, USA in that order, and I like to watch things and learn stuff. Let's go. Hope you're all doing well.
To Adam Explains, where I break down tough. Welcome to Adam Explains, where I break down tough topics and give you the facts. Before we begin, if I could take this time to request that you like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy this video. But without further ado, let's get into it. Guns are heavily restricted in the UK, but contrary to what many people believe, including many Brits, owning a firearm is not illegal. On average, Britain has 6.5 guns per 100 people, compared to the USA, which has 101 guns per 100 people, according to the Small Arms Survey. Unlike the Americans with the Second Amendment, gun ownership in the UK is a privilege, not a right. Whether or not this is the right approach is not up for debate in this video, but feel free to discuss it at length in the comments section. Firearms control in the UK is among the toughest in the world, and firearms offences continue to make up less than...
I'll react to that,
Hey guys.
sure. Hey, what's up? Sorry guys, that's my other video. I record a lot of videos.
The UK is among the toughest in the world, and firearms offences continue to make up less than 0.2% of recorded crime. As you would expect, with such low gun ownership, gun-related deaths are incredibly rare. According to the Geneva Declaration of Armed Violence and Development, it stands at 1 death per million people per year. The UK population is around about 56 million people, and that only adds up to around 50 to 60 gun homicides annually. The rules around gun ownership can vary depending on where you are in the UK, particularly in Northern Ireland, where due to the Good Friday Agreement the laws are much less restrictive and over 5% of the population own a firearm, though these gun owners are not permitted to transport their weapons to mainland Britain. So who, in general, can obtain a firearm? To possess or purchase a firearm, an individual in the UK must be assessed as not posing a threat to public safety by the police, who act as the licensing authority. In addition, the individual must have a good reason to own a firearm and be able to demonstrate to the licensing authority.
Shooting and stuff, I guess. So I think the main... before I give my opinions, let's hear them out.
The individual must have a good reason to own a firearm and be able to demonstrate to the licensing authority that they require their firearm for work, sport or leisure on a regular legitimate basis, such as being a member of a target shooting club. The reason the police are the licensing authority is because they possess local information that helps inform their judgment, and discretion over what constitutes a good reason is often left up to chief officers.
Interesting. So I feel like the number one reason in the US would be home defense. It could be hunting. I'm not exactly sure, but I definitely, like, when I think of someone owning a gun in the USA, the first thing that comes to mind is they probably own it to protect their house. This is not me making a argument or anything, just trying to state fact. And so right away, that's a big difference. Okay.
And discretion over what constitutes a good reason is often left up to chief officers. To own a firearm in the UK, a person must undergo a strict vetting procedure, which includes interviews, visits to the person's property, criminal record checks, and references from friends. In addition, the applicant's GP may be contacted. Once a firearm license is issued and paid for, the licensed individual must store their gun securely to avoid access by any unlicensed person. What firearms may be licensed? The references from friends includes interviews, visits to the person's property, criminal record checks, and references from friends. In addition, the applicant's GP may be contacted. Once a firearm license is issued and paid for, the licensed individual must store their gun securely to avoid access by any unlicensed person. What firearms may be licensed in the UK? Unless declared specially dangerous by the Firearms Dangerous Air Weapons Rules of 1969, low-powered air weapons are generally not licensed in England and Wales. That means that if you purchase one of these, you do not require a license in order to possess it. It is often said that handguns are outright banned, which is not strictly true. An individual may own long-barreled revolvers and long-barreled pistols, which are defined with a barrel of at least 30 centimeters in length, and that the firearm is at least 60 centimeters long.
Interesting. Yeah. So obviously, with the recent stuff in Uvalde in Texas, the massacre of those kids, which is um, I don't even know what to say. It's horrific. Um, how the those stories tend to get the biggest projection. Does that make sense? The biggest like the airtime on the news, right? But the majority of deaths in the U.S. are not from AR-15s. You know what I mean? I don't think that 12 people being killed in 1 month span in one day is necessarily worse than 12 people being killed in 1 month span on 12 separate days. I don't I see those sort of equivalent. Um, but yeah, this makes sense since handguns are just so much more easy to hide, and so if you have a long pistol or especially a long gun, it's going to be much more difficult to conceal. So that makes sense.
Long-barreled single-shot firearms of any caliber and semi-automatic pistols of 22 rimfire caliber are permitted with a firearm certificate. Those that do not meet these criteria would be considered a pistol in UK law and are effectively banned, with the exception of muzzle-loading pistols, including muzzle-loading revolvers, which are permitted as long as they meet the criteria set forth in the regulations. All of the pistols are prohibited in Great Britain. Shotguns are legal on a shotgun certificate as long as they can't hold more than 3 shotgun shells, including the one in the chamber, if it's a pump action or semi-automatic shotgun. However, shotguns with a detachable magazine or larger fixed magazine are still permitted, but you'll have to obtain a Section 1 firearm certificate. Rifles are also permitted. These are defined by UK law as a rifled firearm with a barrel longer than 30 centimetres or 12 inches, and a total length of the rifle must be longer than 60 centimetres or 24 inches, and it must also not fall under the classification of a long barrel revolver or pistol. Rifles are permitted in any caliber size as long as
I'm assuming they landed on that length because that's probably like a length where it becomes really impractical to try and hide it on your person.
Size as long as it doesn't meet the definition of self-loading or pump action. Semi-automatic or pump action rifles are only permitted at a 22 rimfire caliber. What might surprise you is that under UK law, it is legal for you to own the following weaponry, with the correct licensing of course. The M&P 1522, which is based on the AR-15, H&K 416, semi-automatic 22 rimfire caliber MP5, Ruger 1022, Beretta ARX 160, and you can even own an Uzi as long as it's a 22 rimfire caliber. So next time someone says that the UK banned guns, we didn't, but we do strongly restrict and control who can own firearms and what firearms can be owned. And generally speaking, culturally, we don't have the same affinity or interest in firearms as our American cousins. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave up to you. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on the UK's approach to gun laws. I'd love to hear it. Does it shock you? Does it concern you? Let me know.
Definitely doesn't concern me. I think those are good laws. So what I think that is a bigger problem than laws is this.
100 people compared to the USA, which has 101 guns per 100 people.
I think that, and this is just my opinion, okay? I'm one person. I know it says American. It doesn't say America reacts. It says American. All right. So I get, and I've never fired a gun. I don't even think I've ever held a real gun in my life, okay? So let me put that out there, and you guys can weight that stuff, in my opinion, how you wish. But this I see as a much bigger problem than the laws, because I think in the U.S., it's not exactly as much of a, these people are lawfully getting all of these things, and then it usually, I don't know for a fact, but usually I believe a lot of murder weapons in the U.S. are unregistered, or murder weapons that are guns, right? Guns that are unlicensed, and so right away, even if you adopt every single law on the book that the UK has in the US, the fact that there are so many, that there are so many guns around here, which means, and this is per capita, like this is not to scale. This is 101 guns per person, and so what does the UK have, like a third or maybe a fourth of the population of the US? And so the fact that there are so many means that they are much easier to come across, I would guess. And so yeah, I'm not saying the gun laws are perfect in the U.S. They're certainly not, but I don't think they're the main problem. I think the amount of guns in the U.S. is the main problem, in my opinion. I get this is a very touchy subject, but I'm gonna say my opinion, and you guys can refute. So that's big. And another thing is in the U.S., I think that the U.S. is much more, like, there's a lot more space between the political sides in the U.S. than there are in the U.K. I think, because I feel like a lot of conservatives in the U.K., if they kept those same values and you put them in the U.S., they would be less conservative, because I think that conservatives in the U.S. are much more conservative than conservatives in the UK. Does that make sense? And so it's always used as a weapon. Like whenever there's a tragedy, a gun tragedy, it's often used as a weapon on the news. And you don't ask, like, well, don't most of the killings happen like in areas with high population, dense population, and handguns? But so that's one thing. And another thing, people compare it to Australia, which I think is ridiculous. Not in the way that Australia got rid of its guns and now doesn't have any gun issues anymore. I'm saying that the U.S. would never, ever. I know this, and I don't even own a gun. Okay, you're never gonna take guns away from people. It's not gonna happen. Maybe very strict, certain kinds of guns, but a ban on handguns, there's just no way. There's no way that can happen, ever. Like, put it in the book. Like, how are you ever? Because that's like the choice of gun when it comes to like home protection. And I believe when it comes to the Second Amendment, another thing I have to keep saying I'm not sure on videos like this because they're so polarizing. I keep having to say, I don't, my opinion, chill out. Okay, let me know if I'm wrong. But the whole thing around the Second Amendment, I believe, was a push against the federal government. And so it's not necessarily protection that is what the Second Amendment was about, but as a means for a certain state or certain people to go down fighting against the government. And I think that's what it is. I don't know. But yeah, I think this is the biggest problem, is just the proliferation of guns in the U.S. allows them to be very easily retrieved, gotten access to. And just the attitude around guns that is so incredibly stalwart, I think. And yeah, so I think this is bigger than the laws, and I think that it's much more politically divisive around here than it is in the UK. And so if you're a conservative, you tend to like always bat away from any gun control. If you're a liberal, you tend to always go for gun control. And there's much less thought around actually curbing the issue and stopping people from dying. And it's more about scoring political points. That's truly my opinion. And really good video, though. I like it how, he's like, I'm not trying to... You didn't feel like you were being patronized. And he was just trying to state facts, and he did that well. And I think that was really good. Okay, hope I didn't upset too much. And let me know what you think in the comments. All right, guys? Hope you're all doing well. If not, chin up. You'll be good soon. Don't worry. See you next time.